Shout out to the Cows gang. I'm your host, Mr. Palmer, and welcome to the show, Victim or Volunteer. What I want y'all to do, grab the nearest couch, sit back, and enjoy the ride. I got a story that I want to tell y'all about, man. I had a friend that lived in Melbourne. For those who don't know about Melbourne, Melbourne is located in Europe over there. It's the city or the state capital of Victoria, Australia, right? So how I met him was, traveling back and forth, stuff like that. Flew out and shit. And he was cool, you know what I'm saying? He had his issues, but he liked to dib and dab, and get high, like that. Me, I like to smoke me a blunt and call it a day, but he tended to do other things. He did meth, white boy, European. But he was cool, we was cool. When I went out there, hung out with him a couple times, we got our drink on and, he got high off his shit, I got high off my weed, and it was cool, you know what I'm saying? But I had to kind of distance myself. I stopped going out there because it started getting out of hand. To the point he started to break into people's homes so he could get that easy fix. You out there on the street and, everybody, distance themselves, cut him off and everything. He was 36 years old. And the last time I talked to him was like around, it was actually sometime in March. And he asked me if I could send him a couple $100. And I told him I didn't have the money, said I still got to pay for my couch, Aaron's a renter center. And, he got to the point where he started kind of harassing me about money and all that. And I had to tell him, man, like I tell everybody else. I don't know if y'all got a Walmart out there in Australia, but Walmart is always hiring. And if it ain't no Walmart in Australia, you better come to America and get you one, because I ain't giving you shit. So I hung up the phone from him, and this man broke into somebody's house. And you won't believe what happened to him. Now, I have heard stories where somebody break into somebody's house, they get their ass beat, they get stumped out, they get killed, right? But this man broke into the wrong house that day. So he broke into a unit in Melton, out there. And he was wearing a mask, he had a knife, he broke into that house. And I believe the house was owned by a woman, but it was a guy who was there. And this guy name is Klay Holland, 32 years old. And I want y'all to hold your chairs tight as you sit on the couch and listen to what I'm finna tell you happened to Shane. When he broke in that house, he was beaten with a baseball bat. He was getting beat the fuck up. But that's not the killer part. The killer part is the man raped the motherfucker. What? You can't make this shit up. The man beat him to a pulp and raped his ass. Now, the dude, Klay, don't live in the house. He's visiting. And he beat his ass, which I understand, but he pulled down his pants and raped Shane Cox. And after he did that, he dropped him off in the alley. How he did, I don't know, dropped him off in the alley. And they found him hogtied. They found him with his pants down and with tape around his mouth. Damn! So he ended up dying in the streets. And the police came, but they came for a different incident. They didn't know about what was going on in the alley. And unfortunately, like I told y'all, Shane didn't make it. And what ended up happening after that, later on, he was arrested. He was charged with manslaughter, and he was charged with rape. So let's fast forward to 2023. So in 2023, he ended up going to court. And as they talk more detail about the situation, he said to Shane, this is the course, this is the prosecutor, Mr. Cox, which is Shane, broke into the unit, armed with a knife, wearing a mask, and he was met by Klay Holland. And Cox asked him for money and drugs and was allegedly linked to others who had gone to the house to stand over a resident. So the prosecutor, her name is Christy Churchill, said that Holland overpowered him, hitting him with a baseball bat in the first strike of a series over several hours. And it was alleged that he struck Shane in the head with a bat, tied him up, punched him in the head, and raped him. Man, Mr. Cox was found dead by police a day later, with his hands and ankle bound, a pillowcase around his neck, and nylon tights wrapped around his face. And now his defense says they didn't challenge that Holland had hit Mr. Cox, but contested that the extent and number of hits. So they saying that, yeah, he hit him, but they saying that, they didn't do it all them times, like over and over and over. So the Supreme Court jurors returned. Now here's the outcome, guys. So the jurors came back not guilty on the manslaughter charge. So the murder, not guilty. They did it on Tuesday afternoon, and they deliberated this for 5 days. But what they did find him guilty of is grape. Now, I don't know how true this is, but they say Klay Holland bragged to others about the grape. That's what the prosecutor told the jurors. He bragged about raping a man after he broke into somebody's house. That is something. And at the end of all this, the judge told him that he was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment with a non-parole period of 4 years and 10 months. So he wasn't found guilty for manslaughter, but he was guilty, and the judge put the hammer down, just like Klay Holland put the hammer down on Shane Cox. And the judge told him that what he did was premeditated and particularly humiliating. Yeah, I agree with the humiliation part. He said, your grape for Mr. Cox was a callous, degrading, and humiliating act of retribution. This was Justice Bill had said. So, Couch Gang, this one is definitely weird, and maybe that's why I never broke in nobody's house, because you don't know what you're gonna come out with going inside somebody's house. And like I said, the typical thing I used to hear, you get jumped on, beat up, killed, but I never heard nobody getting raped for breaking into somebody's house. I done heard it and seen it all. So I gotta ask Couch Gang, when it comes to my friend Shane Cox, is he a victim or volunteer? Man, I don't know, man. All I gotta tell y'all, man, if y'all gotta, break into somebody's house, just get a job at Walmart. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm Mr. Palmer, and this conversation is over. Couch Gang, Couch Gang.